One important and useful way to read Shakespeare's plays is to look for patterns in language, kinds of metaphors or images that come up again and again. In fact, this is a good way to read all literature. This is how literature really works. Not the plot that you understand, but those little details that accumulate just under your conscious, the level of your conscious attention. You can do this many ways. There are a lot of different ways there are a lot of different threads to pull in Hamlet, because Hamlet is really verbally complicated. There are many different patterns in this language. One of the reasons people keep publishing things about Hamlet is they keep finding patterns in there because it's so complicated. And let me just say this. It is an article of English major faith that the closer you look at an important piece of writing, a complicated literary piece of writing, the more you will see. Isn't there eventually a point where we've seen everything? There should be, but in practice, there isn't. This is an article of faith that keeps being borne out in practice. I could go in a lot of directions with Hamlet. I'm going to go in this direction right now. I'm going to look for the pattern of religious violation. Religious taboos in Hamlet happens over and over again. And let me take a fairly casual line from my boy Marcellus. It's Act 1, Scene 1. We're only 75 lines into our 4,000 line play. Actually, let me read the whole speech. Marcellus is asking Horatio for a little information because Horatio is more of an insider, more a courtier. He's higher up, and Marcellus is on guard duty. And as part of the general plot environment of Hamlet, there's maybe a major war coming. There might be invaders, and there's an armaments drive because Fortinbras might be coming. In fact, Fortinbras is coming, but the real problem is the king. Good, now sit down and tell me, he that knows, why this same strict and most observant watch so nightly toils the subject of the land, and why such daily cast of brazen cannon and foreign mart for implements of war, why such impressive shipwrights whose sore task does not divide the Sunday from the week? What might be toward that this sweaty haste doth make the night joint laborer with the day? Who is't that can inform me? Who is't? Just one syllable to keep the meter. Okay, let me walk through this and do a bit of close reading. You can close read any speech in this play. I'm going to close read this one, which seems insignificant. That's why I want to look at it. Strict and most observant watch. So nightly toils. The problem of nightly toils. First of all, the question is, why the guard duty? Why are we all on watch? Why did we go to DEFCON 2 or 1? But it's called nightly toil. Nightly toil is the subject of the land. There, by the way, it's the watch. It's not the subjects who are toiling. It's the subjects being toiled. It's a complicated grammatical construction. Such daily cast of brazen cannon. Does brazen sound positive to you? Is anything else brazen here in Denmark where things are rotten? This is something's rotten in the state of Denmark speaker, by the way. Foreign mart for implements of war. Foreign mart, what's foreigners? We keep going to foreigners. These are negative things. Impressive shipwrights. They're drafting shipwrights whose sore task does not divide the Sunday from the week. And that's something I want to come back to. What might be toward that this sweaty haste doth make the night joined laborer with the day? Sweaty, I'm going to do a short video on Hamlet's language of disgust. That's just another thread we can pull, but there's a lot of sweat. There is a lot of kind of bodily fluids in this play, especially in Hamlet's language. Look up the Hamlet and bodily fluids, or the gross Hamlet video. And the night joint laborer of the day. Somebody's working, the king's working all night. If you ever think you're reading too many sexual innuendos into Shakespeare, you're not that good. You're not that good yet, to be fair. You aren't experienced enough, really, so if you think you see something, if you think there's a kind of sexual joke happening there, 99% of the time you're right. Okay. But I want to point out the shipwright's sore task does not divide the Sunday from the week. Now that's like the night being joint labor of the day. We work day and night. It's every day. It's all day, 24/7, 365. But not dividing the Sunday from the week and here we get into a larger pattern throughout the play, is a sin under Christian rules. Like there's supposed to be a Sabbath, there's supposed to be a day off for Christians, most Christians, all Christians who would have been in the audience for this play. That's Sunday. So just because Claudius is on a defense drive because he fears Norwegian invaders, a reasonable fear, it's a small detail, but it's one of many. He's violating a religious norm. People are working on Sunday, though you're not supposed to work on Sunday, and so there's a violation of religious ritual or taboo. There are lots of others. Turns out, well, the king and queen's marriage is a violation of religious taboo. It turns out the old king, Hamlet Sr., the ghost, died before he could do the rituals that would kind of get his sins off his back. That's why he's in purgatory. That's why he's a ghost. And then we're going to see various people get killed in ways where they don't get the religious rights they deserve or owed. Ophelia doesn't get a full funeral. Laertes gets into an argument with the priest about it. Ophelia is not supposed to be buried in the churchyard at all because she is a suicide, which is taboo, but she is anyway. All kinds of religious taboos and violations. How did Polonius get a full funeral? Well, the king says we did but greenly and hugger mugger to inter him. So we've got a biblically forbidden marriage. We get various people being buried without the proper rites. We have work on Sunday. We have religious taboo after religious taboo, and these seem irrelevant in a secular 21st or 20th century age, but they really matter to the original audience. These little details keep coming up more in this play than in others, that the religious practices are not being observed, honored more in the breach than the observance, as Hamlet says about something else. This comes back to the big moment where Hamlet seems to have a clean shot of the king who is praying. And Hamlet talks himself out of it, saying, I don't want to kill him when he's praying. I don't want to kill him when he goes to heaven. My father didn't get to go to heaven. My father's hadn't fulfilled the rituals that would get him to heaven. He's being punished. I'm going to kill Claudius. I kill my uncle when he's sinning. He actually gets cursed, including he says, I'll kill him in the rank pleasure of his incestuous bed. It's a heavy, why is that on your mind, Hamlet? Many 19th, 20th, and 21st century critics view this as just an excuse because they don't feel the religious force. And one of the reasons Sigmund Freud goes to look for a very elaborate, complicated psychoanalytic explanation for Hamlet's behavior is he doesn't buy the excuse Hamlet gives when it's time to cut the king's throat in the church, that Hamlet thinks that would be bad, that Hamlet will not violate that religious norm, and he believes that he would be doing the king a favor. Hamlet is famously wrong. This is dramatic irony, because we get to hear what is happening with the king's praying. We know that he finds his own prayers futile, that he's asking for forgiveness for sin, but he's kept the loot, man. He's kept the crown and his brother's wife. He doesn't think God is going to forgive him. He thinks he's going to hell. Hamlet takes for granted that's real and observes it. First of all, that tells you what revenge drama is. Killing your enemy is not enough. You got to kill him in a bad way. You got to kill him in a way that puts his soul in jeopardy. To Shakespeare and his audience, those are real things. These religious observances are extremely important. The moment where we're excavating that churchyard to take people's skeletons out to put another body in is meant to be unsettling, though that was in fact a normal practice. One of the reasons Shakespeare's on a tomb in Trinity Church in Stratford and Avon has a little poem on it, but please don't move my cursed be he that moves my bones, because people did make space for things. No one's moving Shakespeare's bones. Shakespeare's very successful. He's a favorite local son. Everybody in Stratford's keeping him right where he is. I'd also point out the king asks Laertes, "What would you do to avenge your father?" And Laertes says, "Cut his throat in the church." Exactly the thing that Hamlet wouldn't do. These details are not accidental. They're the product of craft. We might look for secular psychological explanations, but there's also an explanation here. This play is full of people violating religious taboos, where things that were actually thrown into debate and question during the period it was written, like, well, how much do we believe? How important are these things? Which ceremonies matter? Which ceremonies don't? But it's clear that they matter somewhat, and it is uneasy and unsettling to see all of them violated. That's one of the reasons something seems wrought in the state of Denmark. Nobody is following their own religious beliefs.